Well, first, a very warm welcome to day one of Failure to Fortune. This is the 3-day experience. We're going to be here all weekend long. It's a high intensity immersion to master the mindset, the energetics, and the business strategy to shift outcomes in your favor and build massive momentum in your business in 90 days or less. I have to be honest with you guys. This container, I've run, many containers that I love and I'm obsessed with, but this one feels very, very personal. This moment feels very special to me um, because I have been walking through my own comeback story, as you know. And it wasn't very long ago that I was really at this all-time low in my business, and it felt like in my life. I went through a period in the summertime where nothing was working for me. Like I was at this really high at the beginning of 2022, hitting my first 5-figure months, doing work that I loved with people I loved. And then it kind of just all went crumbling down. And I was launching really good things that I cared about and that I believed in. And it was just nothing was working. And I was having these back-to-back 0 months. And on top of that, I had already made this decision. As you guys know here, we don't set goals, we make decisions, that I was going to be moving countries come September. And everything had kind of lined up perfectly for me to make this move. I had had a friend reach out and offer me, to do an exchange so I could stay at her place for the first month. And I was just like, oh yes, the universe is just like showing me the pathway. Like this is the right move. And so it didn't make sense to me in my mind how everything seemed to be lining up, but at the same time, it was also falling apart. And this would be my first time taking responsibility for supporting myself, for paying my own rent. That that was the commitment I was making. That was what I was telling the universe I was ready for. So you can imagine how defeated I felt during that time. And honestly, I felt like a fraud. I felt abandoned by my community. I felt like I didn't know myself. Like I was worthless, and all of this momentum that I'd built up over the last year had really been for nothing. I didn't want to show up anymore. I really didn't know how to show up authentically while I was feeling the way I was feeling. And I definitely did not want to launch a group offer again and have it blow up in my face. Like the scariest thing isn't launching one-on-one intensives, it's launching a group program, because you're like, shit, what if I can't fill this room? Like, what if nobody shows up? What if only one person shows up? And maybe you have sat with any of those, that kind of experience yourself in your own business. So that's why sitting here in this room right here with you right now feels like, for me, my ultimate comeback moment. Like this is the comeback. Like if you've been waiting for like the concluding part of the story, this is it. Like we're living it right now. Because there was a point in my life where I didn't know if I was ever going to be back in this space. And this is the space that lights me up the most in my business. It's running these kind of immersions and bringing a group of people together and giving them an experience that transforms them on a cellular level. It's what feels the most edgy and scary in my business, but this is where I come alive. And so to be back here after being so scared to put myself out there again and to see all of you here, it truly, truly means the world to me. And I want you to know how much I appreciate your time and your energy. I know there are a million places on earth that you can be investing it. And so I don't take it for granted that you are here. Thank you for trusting me. And thank you for believing in me. And I have a feeling that if you are here, it's because you have probably gone through something similar in your own life. I don't know, guys. There was something in the air last summer. Was it just me? Because I keep seeing people talk about this. Like, just raise your hand if you felt like sometime in the last year there was a moment where you were beat down. Or maybe you forgot why you all started in the first place. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of hands go up. Maybe you were feeling like disconnected from who you know yourself to be, or the odds were stacked against you. And if that's the case, then I want to promise you that by the end of these 3 days, you're going to be in a completely different place. And I know you've probably already been taking those steps and moving yourself out of that. And so this is the moment. It's like we don't just come back to baseline, we don't just come back to where we were. Like we escalate beyond where we've ever been before. That's my intention with this space. This is an accelerator. And so for the next 3 days, I want you to consider me your personal coach and mentor. Here at the Mind Palace, there are a few rules. And one rule that we have is that participation is transformation. So the way to get the most out of the space is for you to really use this space. The better questions you ask, the better answers you're going to receive. And I'm so open to you dropping questions or comments in the chat at any moment. I want this to feel interactive. I want this to feel like a conversation. And whenever somebody drops questions in the chat, it just adds so much to the training. Like, feel free to interrupt me with questions in the chat. I'm so happy to like take a tangent and go there because it makes it so much better than it could have been with what I have created on my own. It's so much better when we collaborate. I want to invite you to come to the calls without any expectations, really just joining with an open heart. Being willing to learn, to be vulnerable, to dig deep in yourself, and give yourself to this space. Like this really can be a shifting point in your life if you treat it like that. You said yes for a reason. So there is something here for you, whether you're watching this live, whether you're watching this on the replay, there is something here for you. Usually when I'm in a mentorship space, I can pay for like weeks or months, and it's one single sentence that sticks with me. And that completely transforms how I show up in my business and in my life. And down the road, you see how that one little thing, that was the turning point. It's not always obvious at the beginning, but it really is like those micro moments. So this is how you're going to get the most out of the space. Every day is going to build on one another. So try to come live whenever you can. And when you can't, I encourage you to catch up before the next call. Stay in the vibe, stay in the momentum. And if you are taking notes, don't feel like you have to write every single thing down. This is an energetic transmission. It is a verbal transmission, but it's frequency as well. And I want you to really be open to receiving that. Sometimes when we're too in our head and we're just like trying to get everything down, we don't really emotionally and energetically receive the words that are coming through. And so I want you to focus more on like writing down those really key points, those really key one-liners that like hit you in the gut and you're like, yes, I want to keep this one. But don't feel like you have to write every single thing. I want you to stay here and stay present with me. If there's any distractions in your environment right now, turn the phone upside down, like really dropping into the space. So that being said, I want to invite you guys to share in the chat what led you here. What are you hoping to receive from it? And to introduce yourself, like drop your Instagram, connect with each other. I know we have a community space now, which is so cool. Like never had that before, but still such a good time. It's a good moment for you to like see each other's faces, get a feel for each other's energy, talk in the chat. Like it's a live interaction, which you can't always have even within our community chat. So would love for you to introduce yourself here. Okay. Ariel said, truthfully, I'm here primarily because I feel like, Sophia, you are in takeoff mode. We are in takeoff mode, and I'm feeding off your energy. My word for 2024 is launch. Oh, that's such a good word. And I'm ready for all the little pieces of my biz to start to take off in a mutually giving you back energy way. Yeah, totally, totally. No, I get that completely. And I'm glad that you sense that and you feel that in me. But this is the thing. For those of you who don't know Ariel, this woman is just built for success. Like, I see it so much in you, Ariel. Like, you have the decisiveness and the devotion that lets me know it's inevitable for you. I love how willing you are to jump into spaces that you know are going to keep you motivated and keep you inspired and give you like those little tweaks here and there that make the biggest difference. Like, you've just continuously demonstrated that you're here for this and you're all in with your actions. And yeah, girl, you're already taking off. Okay. Yeah, guys, get to know Ariel. She's super cool. Rachel said, I came here desiring to reconnect with you and your energy. Oh, I love you. Me and Rachel worked together for like the first few months of 2022, and it was such a good time. Like, she's just my soul sister. To witness you in your light and hear your comeback story with an open mind to receive all the nuggets of wisdom. Love that word. My word is exponential. We're all like, this is a big year. My word is opulence, which is about luxury and wealth. Rachel also has that mindset of a champ, which is what we're going to be talking today. This girl will help you achieve all of your dreams. So I highly recommend getting to know her as well. Savannah, hey, I'm Sav, Soph's sister. I'm here because I want to support Soph in this space. I know community is going to be big. I'm here to be part of its growth. I'm also here to connect with you beautiful people. And Savannah's word is success. Love you, Sav. Thank you for being here. So I know that, sorry guys, I also want to apologize because I've been dealing with this like crazy congestion for months now. And I don't really know what's up with that, but we're just going to keep it pushing. But if you hear me like cough or clear my throat, I appreciate your patience with that. Sarah said, hey everyone, I'm Sarah. Came here to let go of the limitations from my past identity and move into my new life. Well, girl, you're in the right place. This is the call for you today. I'm here because I'm in the process of making a decision. To uproot with no concrete answers right now. I've been feeling defeated after this year, but I know my purpose and it's time to make it happen. Yes, it is. It is time to make it happen. Thank you for being here, Sarah. I'm really excited to get to know you more. And I know that you're going to bring so much magic into the space. So thank you for being here. I know for some of you, it's your first time being in a live experience with me. Or maybe for people watching on the replay. So I wanted to just take a small moment before we start the material to introduce myself. So hello, my name's Sophia. I am the most Aquarius you will ever meet. I'm a coach, a mentor, a speaker, a writer, an amateur volcano hiker, a nomadic soul, as you can tell by my beautiful view here in Guatemala. I'm a bookworm. I read a ton. You're going to hear me read to you over these 3 days because there are really great books that have helped me on my journey. I studied aerospace engineering in school, but obviously have since taken a very different direction, although I think that systematic kind of way of thinking helps me a lot in business. I'm a cat mom to my baby Jade. I am a salsa enthusiast. That's where I was last night, prepping for today's call on the dance floor. So much more, but at the core of my soul, I'm a woman on a mission. Ever since I was a little girl, I knew I was here for something big, and I couldn't always explain it, but I just felt it. And for a long time, that was a very isolating feeling. I felt very alone in the world because I felt like no one could really understand what it's like to be like this little girl, knowing that you didn't just come here to fuck around. You came here to like make big moves. And now that I've gotten older, I realize that I'm not alone. And I just wanted to create a space where all of us could come together and like know that we're not alone and pursue that mission in our hearts together. And that's what the Mind Palace is. It is a hub for mission-driven entrepreneurs and leaders to gather and connect and grow together. I create all different types of programs, literally everything from moving through fear and taking radical leaps of faith to the art of goal achievement, to authentic self-expression and self-identity makeovers, to the art of leadership and influence, to taking ownership over your relationship with money. All different types of programs that you now have full access to inside of the community space. So I'm so excited for you to dive into those. Treat it like your new Netflix. You know, if you're like in the mood to really 10x, you have to start to program yourself and immerse yourself with the type of material that's going to help you get there. Create an environment around yourself, not just physically, but also like mentally, that helps you take the steps you need to take. So whenever you're like, okay, what do I want? I want to watch something, or I need to get my daily mentorship in. This is what you're going to fill your mind with. You have this whole database of resources to dive into on your own time. And I also want to remind you guys, you all have a free one-on-one strategy session with me. So be sure to take advantage of that. As soon as you hit level 2, which doesn't take much, takes a little bit of engagement in the community, you unlock that free strategy call. So don't be afraid to jump in. Like, I'm literally here to help you. I want to help you 10x your business in 2024. And I'm here to just give as much as I possibly can. We can sit and we can mastermind together. My goal in that call is to really help you solve the biggest problem that you are facing in your business, whether that's a strategic one or an internal one. And we're going to blast right through it. And so take advantage. Like, it's a free resource for you. Take advantage of it. Okay, how are we doing? Everyone's still with me. We're going to dive into our training now. Thank you for bearing through all of the introductory things and setting the tone and setting the space. Also, just reminder, please, if at any point you cannot see me, you cannot hear me, my connection is bad, drop it in the chat. Let me know so I can switch over to my cellular data. And thank you for all your patience. Okay. We're going to kick off this training. I'm going to read through the first post, one of the first posts that I created when it came to this comeback season that we are in now. And you've probably read it if you follow me on Instagram, but I think that for me, speaking it out to you, it may just hit a little bit differently. And I think it really sets the tone for our training today. Okay. So I said, what's it like being an entrepreneur? A new friend and I are tanning on the shores of Lake Atitlan. She's just quit her job to travel, and she's telling me about the coaching business she's about to start. We're excitedly brainstorming ideas, and I'm hyping her up. I know that her life is about to transform. I was her, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed less than 2 years ago. Do you really want to know? She nods. I didn't have the heart to lie. It's the ultimate path for spiritual evolution. It will take you to your highest of highs and the lowest of lows. But the crazy thing is, even in the lows, you're still living your dreams. I took a breath in my own world now, reflecting on the words that had just come out of my mouth. 90 days ago, I moved to Guatemala with $1,000 in my bank account. I had just had 2 back-to-back $0 months, back-to-back failed launches, stuff I was really looking forward to and I'd put my whole heart and soul into. And on that particular day, I was supposed to be celebrating the success of my first international retreat. It had flopped. Yet still here I was, living my dream. High on gratitude and the fresh mountain breeze, volcanoes in every direction, my skin tanned, hair wet, soul lit up. My business had made a major comeback with new inquiries coming in almost daily. This is the entrepreneurial journey. And if you're on the path with me, I want to thank you. Thank you for being a living, breathing example to the world of what happens when you take life by the cojones and say, you're coming with me. Thank you for showing others that their passions, their gifts, and their dreams have value and that it is impossible, or that it is possible to take a vision in your mind and make it a reality. Thank you for never giving up. The last 90 days have taught me so much. I led myself through a mental, emotional, and strategic shift to alchemize the pain of failure into my greatest comeback story yet. And now it's time to share it with you. So, Albert Einstein said, failure is success in progress. Failure is success in progress. And I want us to think about that for a moment. Failure is success in progress. So failure is not the end of the journey. Failure is not a detour out of the journey, an obstacle, a sidetrack, a reason to stop. It's part of the progress of success. It's part of the journey of success. If you're failing, you're getting closer to success. It's almost like that's the foundation for that success rests on is failure. And these are beautiful words, and they're so true. Of course, we know that logically. So then why does it feel so hard to believe it the moment that we're in it? I believe that all transformation starts with right understanding. So that's where we're gonna begin. There's something we have to understand about ourselves as human beings and about the human condition. We're all walking around with this supercomputer that runs our life. And this computer only wants to do two things: collect data and protect us. The only reason it collects the data is so it can protect us. So this computer, which is our mind, it needs to understand who you are in order to protect you. It can't protect a thing that doesn't exist. So it develops something called a self-concept or self-identity. We're going to use those terms interchangeably. Imagine it's this like avatar of you. So your mind builds this like little sim to say, this is who Sophia is. This is who Ariel is. This is who Rachel is. And assigns all these characteristics and traits to you so that it can protect you. Because again, if it doesn't have that, what's it going to protect? Now, whenever we experience a result or a circumstance that is out of alignment with the self-concept we have built, and this can be positive or negative, right? This can be something that's like so crazy amazing that it's very out of alignment with the self-concept you've constructed. Or it could be something that's so very bad and that's completely out of alignment with the self-concept you've constructed. No matter which way we go in, it creates this tension and this dissonance. And the entire computer starts to malfunction. It doesn't know what to do because it's like, wait, the math ain't mathin'. The data's not dataing. This data, this that I've created to understand who this person is that I'm trying to protect, now these results and circumstances are telling me something completely different. And what do I do? And so we start to experience in our body this dissonance as an uncomfortable or negative sensation. And so to rectify the situation, one of two things need to happen. This is how we're programmed, right? Like understand the way that you're programmed. To rectify the situation, one of two things need to happen. Either A, you learn how to create safety and comfort around that uncomfortable sensation, and therefore alchemize it into something positive. This creates momentum in the direction of our dreams. The second option, which is the default program, unfortunately, is that the self-concept then changes to match the new data. And usually, if we've experienced a failure of some sort, this means lowering our sense of self-worth. And that creates momentum in the opposite direction of our dreams until we decide to change it. So I want to give you an example of how this works in real life. And Savannah, I'm going to use you as my scapegoat because we just experienced this. Me and all my siblings and my cousins, we went out bowling about a week ago. And Savannah, right out the gate, she starts and she's hitting these strikes like no problem. And she's on a high. She's like, I'm the winner. I got this. Like, you're all going down. She has that competitive spirit coming through. And then a round comes up. She's probably hit an upper limit at this point, which we're going to talk about tomorrow. Upper limits are like the max amount of joy and success that you feel, right? That's aligned with that self-identity you've created for yourself. And so what happens? She goes up to, bowl, and she has a really shitty turn. And it was so interesting for me to witness in a moment where one thing went not the way she wanted. Her complete attitude changed. Suddenly, the next turns, she was like, I lost it. I lost my mojo. She didn't even want to compete anymore. She didn't even believe she could win anymore. She took herself out of the game. She completely disqualified herself. And then it was just kind of like, oh, whatever. Like, I'll just do it because I'm here. And that's what happens to each and every one of us whenever we experience some sort of failure. And it usually, crazy enough, comes after some sort of major success because of that upper limit theory. So that data gets collected, it gets recorded, and then what does the mind do? It wants to keep us safe by matching the self-identity to the new result. And I know you guys are all self-aware humans who understand how powerful your sense of self is, your identity is. Your identity is what's creating your reality, right? As Joe Dispenza says, your personality is your personal reality. And life responds to who you think you are. This is the cycle. Cycle goes like this. We have some sort of result from our past that creates an identity change. That then produces a current result, which then affirms the identity that we're in. And that yields a future that looks exactly like the past did. Right? Past creates identity, current result affirms identity, and the next thing you know, the past is just continuously being brought into the future. So how do we break this cycle? Because that's the hardest thing. You're gonna fail. This is going to happen to you. Like, let's not be delusional about our circumstances. Let's not be delusional about how our default programming works as human beings. Let's be proactive about it. Because this is going to happen to you at some point, especially if you're an entrepreneur, because guess what? Failure is success in progress. So in order to break out of this cycle, at some point, your self-identity has to change before the results do. You have to become greater in your current level of self. You have to become a new person from the inside out. And this is a decision. It starts with a decision. And it's a decision you can make right now. You don't try to make decisions. Make decisions happen in a moment. It's a moment. Your circumstances today are just the results of what you were thinking, feeling, and doing 3 months ago, 90 days ago. So you have to be able to sustain whatever this decision is, whatever this new identity is that you're claiming for yourself. You have to be able to sustain it for long enough without evidence that the physical world starts responding. And especially if you have like a really big goal or destination you want to get to, it might take longer than probably going to take longer than 90 days to get there. So it's like the game really is. This is the game, guys. Like we're playing a video game. We are playing a video game right now. And this is the ultimate test of self-mastery. It's the skill that you came to Earth to master, is the ability to sustain that new sense of self-identity, to maintain a different state of being, a different frequency, even when you have no evidence, even when the results are not matching that yet. This is the entire message of the Mind Palace. Like this is the lesson that changed my entire life, was realizing that I could shift my state of being and I could change my attitude before anything else changed. And in doing that, everything else starts to change. Now, because you failed, because you've had this moment where life has beat you down and pummeled you. I love that, Rachel. You said Kabbalah always says certainty beyond logic. That's so good. Certainty beyond logic. I really love that. Because that's what it is. It's like, it can't just be like, I believe, I know. Like when you make a decision, you're not deciding to believe in something. You're deciding that it is this. You know, this is who I am now. This is who I am now. This is why I'm walking around telling everyone that I'm gonna be in a relationship in the next 3 months. I'm about to get wifed up. Because it's a decision I've made, and I know, because I've done this so many times at this point, to prove to myself that this is actually how reality works. When you make a decision from the inside out and you like become that identity, you decide like, this is who I am now, it happens. It happens. And if you don't believe that for yourself right now, borrow my belief in you. Borrow my faith in this process. Because I'm so certain of it. Certainty over logic, baby. So you failed, and guess what? You have the perfect opportunity right now to practice this skill, to practice like mastering yourself. So first we need to change our minds about what failure means, right? Failure is the launch pad. You know that the foundation from which you literally can launch a rocket into space? That's what failure is. It's the bedrock for your success. It's not the roadblock, and it's not the final destination. And I love Robert Greene, who, oh my God, such an amazing author. I'm actually reading one of his books right now. I'm going to talk a little bit about tomorrow, called The Art of Seduction. But he's really brilliant. He talks about failure. And he said there are two kinds of failure. The first comes from never trying out your ideas because you're afraid, or because you're waiting for the perfect time. And I know that's none of us, because we're all crazy people who are trying out all of our ideas, regardless of knowing that there really is never a perfect time. So this kind of failure you never learn from, and it will destroy you. But there's a second kind of failure, and that comes from having a bold and venturesome spirit, which I know you have. And if you fail this way, the hit you take to your reputation, right? Because why are people afraid to fail? Because they're afraid of what other people are going to think of them. Really, they're afraid of what they're going to think of themselves, right? It's that dissonance with the self-identity you've created. That's what we're fearing most, the collapse of the self-identity. But he says the hit that it takes to your reputation and to your self-worth, because it will, is greatly outweighed by what you learn. And repeated failure will toughen your spirit and show you with absolute clarity how things must be done. I would not trade my failures for the world. If I had not gone through what I've gone through over the last 6 months, I would not be sitting here in front of you today. we would not have a community space that we have. I would not be able to, like, I've changed my entire business model and I feel like such a different person and I'm thinking and so much bigger, and it's because I failed. And it's because I had to bring myself out of that. And it's because I had to reflect on what wasn't working and get really honest with myself about what was where I had stepped out of alignment. And because I got checked literally by God, the universe got checked. Rejection is redirection. I was able to then step back, readjust, and because of those adjustments, the success is inevitable. Failure truly is success in progress. So when you fail, you have one of two choices. You either let it crush you emotionally and you turn and you run back to safety. I'm not gonna lie, guys. There were moments where I was like, I should just get a normal job. Like I shouldn't. How are we doing? Are we good? I know you said I was cutting out. Are we back now? We should have like a code, like you can like give me a thumbs down if I'm like cutting out, but okay, cool. Turn around, run back to safety. That's option number one. Give up, quit. And a lot of people do. And it's sad how many dreams die because people just quit and give up on them. Or you get to see the failures as data, the best kind that there is, right? It's like you're either deciding that you're going to let the external results dictate your sense of self-worth and value, or you're going to decide that your sense of self-worth and value is inherent and the external results are just neutral. They're just neutral facts. And this is a practice state of being. This isn't an easy thing to do. I don't want to make it seem like it's an easy thing to do. It's something we have to practice. Tomorrow, we're really going to get into like the energetics of that, like practices and tools that you're going to take with you for the next 90 days. And build that sense of unshakable self-identity and self-value. No matter what's happening in your external world, you're clear, you're centered. And like I said, it's something you have to show up for daily. Because your sense of self-worth is malleable. It's not constant. Like it's like this clay. It's fragile. We have to be proactive about building it to what we want it to be. So when you can be objective about the results you're getting, you notice the gaps. And this is the winner's mindset. This is what we're talking about today. And I'm going to break this down in a little bit more detail. The winner's mindset, one of the number one points is the objectiveness. And this requires us to get a little bit more into our masculine nature. I know as feminine women, we want to make everything emotional. We want to make everything about us. Everything has to mean something. But what if it didn't have to? What if you could put on what my dad, who is, an amazing business owner, has been in business for over 30 years now. His business has done over $20 million in sales. So when he says something, I listen. And he talks about this concept of putting on your CEO cap. Putting on your CEO cap. And really what he's talking about is thinking objectively, seeing the facts for what they are, thinking from that problem solving. It's almost like, for me, it's like my engineering mind goes to work. There's a problem and there's a solution. And if I'm not getting the result I want right now, it's because there's something I need to tweak in my system. It's not because there's something wrong with me. It's not because I'm not who I say I am. It's not because I have any less value to give. There's a tweak. There's something in my system that I need to fix, period. When we can do this, we really open up like a whole new world of possibility. Your success becomes inevitable because you just don't stop experimenting until you get the result, right? In an ever changing and unpredictable physical world, we can't leave something as important as our self-worth to chance. Because it is what gives us the staying power to continue failing until we inevitably succeed. So, first things first, first step in how we're going to be proactive about this, we need evidence. Okay. Whenever you don't have the physical results yourself to show yourself that it's possible, you know that's a sign to go find it somewhere, right? Because the mind needs evidence. Let's work with our minds. Let's work with our programming, not against it. So, this is why, first and foremost, putting yourself in a space with people who are living the way that you want to live is so powerful. Because you literally adopt their self concept through osmosis. You learn to think, you learn to feel, you learn to act like them by default. And it is the only shortcut in life. Truly, the only shortcut in life. Now, the closer the proximity, obviously, the better. But when you have nothing else, guys, we got the internet. Like, there is so much free stuff out there that we can use to help us gain the evidence we need to show ourselves that what we want is possible. So, Netflix was the first place that I turned because I knew I needed to show myself. I was in this like low, and I remember in the summertime there was a moment where I realized that my second launch was going to fail, that it like wasn't working, people weren't showing interest. And I was at this resort with my family. We were at this like, lake vacation up north in Canada, and we were wakeboarding. And I remember I got up on the wakeboard on like one of my first tries, and I was like killing it on the wakeboard, like giving it my best. And then after that, like I don't know what happened, but I just couldn't get up on this wakeboard again for the life of me. And I felt it was almost like the strength in my arms had left my body. And after we, came back to the resort, I just broke down. I broke down in front of my sister and in front of my dad and in front of my brother. And because it was so much more than just like the wakeboard, like it was just a mirror for everything I was experiencing my business at the moment. And I remember saying to them, like, I feel like I can't win twice. I feel like I win once, like I have some sort of big victory. And then I just have this paradigm that won't let me win again. Like, I've never proven to myself that I can win twice in a row. And I just like became so aware of that in that moment on the wakeboard, because it was like, how was I able to get up once and then just every time after that not get up? And so for me, I realized like this is what I need to prove to myself. This is the evidence I need to give myself, is that you can win twice. You can win again, especially after you failed. Because I was like, I'm in this moment of failure. Like, I need to show myself that there's another side to this. Like, there's something else. Like, I can have a comeback after this, right? Because when you fail like multiple times in a row, especially, you start to kind of feel like there's all this evidence now stacked against you. And you're like, well, this is just making it harder now for me to get back up and try again. This is like, it's like this giant roadblock, right? Especially because if you're a business owner, you're a leader of some sort, and you're like, well, what do I have to go off now? Like, nothing's working. Like, what do I tell people? I'm supposed to be my best testimonial, you know? And so I get that. Like, I totally get that feeling. And that's where I was. And so I had to show myself, like, there are stories out there. There are people out there who have failed and come back stronger than ever. So I went on a search for all the comeback stories I could find. And really, I turned to athletes, because if someone can go through an experience where their own body is failing them, right? Like, the body is the subconscious mind, right? And everything is stems from the subconscious mind, but I think the body is where we see it first. So if your own body is failing you, like you're not performing the way you know you can, And then you can take control of that. You can take control over your own body. You can totally take control over your business, right? Or any other area of life. And there are just so many good, like, sports, faith-based comeback movies and series and everything. So I just like literally dove into that. Like that became my nighttime routine. I sat on the couch and I binged every comeback story that I could find, and I cried my eyes out because I felt myself in their lows. And then I saw myself in their highs. And it really sparked this like ember of hope in my heart, and it gave me vision. And it cultivated this belief in my operating system. And that's part of why I started sharing my story, because I wanted people to be able to also see myself, also see themselves in me, and come on the journey with me. Because that's how beliefs are created. It's not just by knowing something, right? We said, why do I not feel like it? Why do I not believe it when I hear those words? It's because belief isn't created just by logic alone. It's combining emotion plus evidence. You have to get yourself wrapped up in and have an emotional response around something, which is why storytelling, movies, anything that makes you feel is what's going to help you believe it. Not just hearing the words, you're a success in progress. Like, thanks, bro. You know? So when I started, and there was two things I really watched. Okay, Rosa said, just to clarify, since the body is the subconscious mind, do you think that means if you can take control of the body, you can also take control of the other areas such as business? Yeah, totally. Not that the body is necessarily the root of it, but I think the body is where we start to see really like the physical representation. Because think about it, your subconscious rules your physical results. And the subconscious mind is the emotional mind, right? I know that you know this. And if it's moving outwards into our external reality, the first place it has to go is the body, right? And especially because your external results are dictated by your physical actions. Like, we can't deny that. You have to be able to take the right actions to get the right results, for example, in your business. So if you're like waking up every day and you feel like shit and you don't want to get out of bed, there's a paradigm there that's stopping you from achieving the tangible material success that you want in your life. So I do believe that the body is one of the first places that we start to know what our paradigms are. And this is why I truly recommend, and it's one of the best places. It's another thing where you can break the paradigms. You're going to hear me talk about how after I went and got this evidence and I watched all these things, I went back to kickboxing. Because I wanted to know, I wanted to get back in the ring and like feel what it was like to get punched in the face, because that was happening in my business. I was getting punched in the face on a metaphorical level. So if I could feel that in my body, get that sensation in my body, you're literally like downloading new paradigms through your body. If I could feel what it was like to get hit and then to punch back, to get hurt and then to get up again, to keep trying, to feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm done, like I'm done this round, when you have like a lot of cardio and you're just like, like I can't keep going. But then like something in you takes over and you keep going. When you could feel that in your body first, you can remember that. And that belief comes with you into the other areas of your life. So I do believe that the body is one of the primary places to work with. That's why you're hearing people talk so much about somatics, because your body is like your temple. It's the easiest access we have to the subconscious. That's why on our retreat, we're taking people up the volcano, because that experience, I have never had an experience like that showed me exactly where my limitations are. Like, you're on this thing and your mind is telling you, I can't take another step. Your mind is literally saying, like, you feel like you have nothing left in you. You're like, there's no way I'm getting up this. And then guess what? You take another step, and then another one, and then another one. And then next thing you know, you're at the top of a freaking volcano. I'm telling you, when I had that experience, I was like, So what else am I telling myself that I can't do that I actually can do? You know? And that experience lives now in my body as a program that I've downloaded. So get in the arena, like physically get in the arena. I think having some sort of like physical practice, I mean, successful people, you start to study them, you notice there's some commonalities. All of them take themselves seriously, take themselves to the gym, have some sort of, I mean, I'm talking about people who are holistically successful, like in all areas of life, not just materially, because that's what we're looking for, right? And that's the thing is like for me, getting myself back into that kickboxing practice was a big part of helping me see like I can get back up again after I've fallen down. Oh my God, yes, go kickbox, Rachel. You're gonna love it, girl. I'm telling you. It's not for everyone, but the people who it is for, like, you just become obsessed. So that's the thing is there's two things I really watched that like made the biggest difference. And it was David Beckham's documentary on Netflix. And then there was something called A Coach's Playbook, which I really recommend. And it's basically a docu-series of all these really big time coaches. Like these are people who have coached Serena Williams and like Cristiano Ronaldo. And they tell you about moments in their athletes' careers where they were just sucking. Like imagine Serena Williams is losing every single match that she plays to complete noobs, like to people who don't even hold a candle to her. The world's greatest tennis player is losing every match that she plays because she doesn't feel like Serena. And then you see in these like docuseries like how they coach them out of that. And this is why it's so great to have a coach because sometimes you need somebody to move you out of your own way. Like it's called The Coach's Playbook on Netflix. When we were, you know, bowling, Savannah came to me and she's like, Sophia, I need your help. Like, I need you to get me out of this. And I was like, and I came up to her and I said, Savannah, you're a winner. You're a winner. You know how to do this. You just proved that to yourself a few moments ago. You can do this. Don't let this one thing stop you. Don't let this one thing get in your head. You can win this whole game. Like get back in the game. You got this. And she was like, yeah, I got this. Is what you need to be able to borrow some belief sometimes. Right? And so borrow my belief in you. You got this. And what happened? She started hitting strikes again. Like literally immediately after that. Immediately after that, she was like, you're right. I'm a winner. I'm a winner. And there's so many examples of comebacks, like not just in sports, but in business too. Henry Ford, the guy who started the Ford Motor Company, he was bankrupt before he started it. J.K. Rowling was a broke single mom in London who was rejected 12 times. 12 times, guys. 12 times before the first Harry Potter book was published. Thank God, right? Thank God she didn't stop after number 6. Oh my gosh, the world wouldn't have Harry Potter. Steve Jobs was fired from Apple, the company that he created. This one's one of my favorites. Abraham Lincoln, right? Known as one of the world's greatest leaders. He borrowed money to start a business and was bankrupt by the end of the year. And he spent 17 years, guys, 17 years paying off that debt. He also lost 8 elections before becoming the president of the United States. 8 elections he lost. Michael Jordan, the best basketball player of all time, missed 26 game-winning shots that he was trusted to take. And Walt Disney, I mean, you can imagine what he's worth now. He went bankrupt as well after his first business attempt and was then fired from his job for not being creative enough. And it's so interesting because I've been watching, again, evidence, right? Evidence is everything. I've been watching this TikToker who he goes up, basically he like has a little mic and he goes up to people in the street who he sees have like really expensive cars. And he's like, "How much money have you made in a year?" And these guys are like, $16 million, like, up and up until like the billions. Like he's finding like the richest of the rich. And he always asks them, "Have you ever been broke?" And you know what all of their responses are? Like I have not seen one person respond differently. Multiple times. That is what they said multiple times. Like, welcome to entrepreneurship, guys. Welcome. This is what you signed up for. If you didn't know, now you know. And so to be able to study, the way that winners think, to be able to understand the process that winners have gone through, it's almost like the reason everyone has a come up story is because you're inevitably gonna fail, because failure is success in progress. So I started to think to myself, like, if these people can fail so massively and still come out as the world's greatest, as some of the most influential people this world has ever seen, then just maybe there's a future for me out there that's better than the one I can imagine. Just maybe. But it's going to require me to get up and keep going. And so this is the part of my notes where I talk about kickboxing. But really the point of talking about what that experience was that when I got punched, and I actually did get punched in the face, it made me mad. It made me want to hit back harder. It didn't make me want to give up. It didn't deplete my energy. It actually gave me more energy rather than taking it away. And I think that's the first step in becoming a greater version of yourself. Greater, rising above the current level of self. You need to harness energy, right? Whenever we're talking about quantum leap, becoming, raising the self identity, raising your frequency, we're talking about, so I think about this in terms of like scientific terms. Atoms, how they have the electrons like orbiting around them. Whenever an electron wants to jump to another valence shell, to a higher frequency, literally, it needs energy. It needs to get energy from somewhere. So we need energy from somewhere. We need to harness some sort of energy. And I think one of the best places to harness it from is to get angry. People really, they think that change starts with great desire, but I don't think it does. I think it starts with great dissatisfaction, and dissatisfaction breeds desire. So to understand what human beings are motivated by, this is a really good thing to write down. Human beings are motivated by one of two things. You need to know this because then you know how to motivate yourself. And this is the self-mastery, right? Like, you have to know how to create your own breakthroughs because there's not always going to be someone there to facilitate them for you. So this is how you motivate yourself. Whenever I'm like, why am I not doing the thing that I said I was going to do? I know to go back to these two things and figure out how I can use them to get myself to do the thing I was going to do. So, number one, the idea that something really good is going to happen on the other side of taking this action. Desire. Strong, strong, strong desire. I know that if I do this hard thing, like, I'm going to get a reward at the end of it. That's one way to motivate yourself. The second way is that, it's the idea that something really bad is going to happen if you don't take this action. So if I don't do this, like, I get punished. Fear is the second way to motivate yourself. And in those moments, like when it's so hard to have hope for the future, when you don't have a clear vision, right? When you don't have a big desire, because that happens to us when we're in that like low of failure. You're like, I don't fucking know what I want. Like, it's so hard for me to hope for anything right now. You can't use the first one. You can't use desire to motivate yourself. It's off the table. So you have to use the fear of what happens if I don't. Get mad at your circumstances. Anger is a very powerful emotion that inspires action, and it will change your frequency, and it will give you the energy to do something different. Now you're competing with yourself. You're competing with the old version of self, and you're playing to win. And competition, it's not a bad thing. Part of having the winner's mindset is, again, like I totally understand like being a spiritual person and there's enough abundance and like there's enough to go around, and yes. And also, like, we're here in this physical earth, like I said, playing a video game. Like, I want to play to win, don't you? And that doesn't mean that we all can't win, but I want to win for myself. And so to have that competitive edge, like winners have the competitive edge. They know they can win. They know they can beat their current level self. They know they can be the best in the world. It sounds so simple, but winners believe they can win. Like, think about that. The people who became the world's greatest, they actually believe that they could be the world's greatest. Like, it's such a simple truth. It's almost like you have to think about it twice to like really understand the depth of that. Like, they actually thought to themselves, I can be the best. I can I can win this game. They didn't disqualify themselves. I want to see what Ariel put here because I know this is like so touchy. This is interesting because I've been telling myself I shouldn't use anger to get me where I want to go. But I do feel it's motivational power. Do you think it's easier to jump from anger to higher frequency emotions, and that's why it works? I do. You have to move from like where you are, which is maybe neutral, or maybe you're in like a negative kind of spiral where you're in like you're in depressed kind of energy. Yeah, Rachel said if used in the right way, it's an extremely powerful force. You got to get fed up. Like you're fed up, you're done. You're like, I'm not staying here anymore. And that's when it's like, and then once you get to that state, it's like a stepping stone. It's like a ladder. There's stairs. And then you can start to say, okay, well, where do I want to go then? Like, I'm not staying here. I've decided I'm not staying here. So where do I want to go? And then we can start to build up those higher frequency states. So yes, I do think it's a really powerful emotion to use. So that competitive drive, right? Doesn't mean you want people to lose. It just means that you want to win and that you believe you can win. And not having that competitive drive, it comes from a fear of failure, right? I get that because for the longest time I used to tell myself I'm not competitive. I'm not a competitive person. The reason for that was because when I was a little girl, I realized that I hate to lose. And every time that I lost, I would literally throw a tantrum. Like it hurt so much. Again, like my self-concept was here. And every time I would lose, it would like drop to here. And I was like, wait, what's going on? Tantrum. Like I don't know how to rectify this. And so I took myself out of the game. I started telling myself I'm not competitive. And whenever I would play any sort of sport, any sort of board game, anything, I would just kind of go into it with the idea that like whatever happens, happens. Like I'm just here to have fun. Yeah, Rachel, I can let you in on your phone. I'll look for the request. But when it comes to business and your sense of self now is no longer tied to your results, like it all can become this fun game. And so that's like one of the core pillars of a winner's mindset. Let's wait for Rachel to jump back in here. How are we doing, guys? I know I'm talking a lot and I'm talking very fast. How are we doing? Let me know. Let me know in the chat, like how we're all feeling. Is this like hitting? Is it resonating? Okay, beautiful. We're almost done our training for today. Woo! Thank you, Ariel. It's emotion, baby. You got to unlock that emotion. That's what creates transformation. Okay. Winners play infinite games. This might be one of those things you want to write down. Winners play infinite games. So, one of the biggest winners I know in my life today is my brother. If you're wondering who ended up winning both of our bowling matches, even though he was losing at the beginning, it was my brother. Now, this kid, he's just wired to win. And we make jokes about the fact that he's a Leo and a double Aquarius because he just like lives in the spotlight and like he has that almost like arrogant confidence. But it's not that he wants other people to lose, it's that he knows that he can be the best. He wants to be the best. He actually believes he can be the best. His goal is to become the best entertainer in the world. And by the way, if you guys don't know my brother, he has over 10 million, an audience of over 10 million on all his platforms. He's 21 years old. Completely out earning me, which as an older sister just drives me fucking insane. As you can imagine. I mean, obviously I'm so happy for him, but like there's that competitive edge in me that's like my little 21-year-old brother. Like, no, we can't let that happen. I'm so proud of him. Like, he inspires me so much, and his drive is just absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. And his goal is to become the best entertainer in the world. That is an infinite game. At what point does he get to say that he's the best entertainer in the world? Is there ever a moment where he gets there? No, that's very hard. It's hard to measure that. So there's always going to be room to improve. There's always going to be a game to play. He's not playing for the final result. He's playing to win. He's playing to be in the game of being the best entertainer. And that's a different kind of mindset. Like Bob Proctor, for example, he was somebody that I knew personally in my life. And I saw Bob speak. Bob passed away 2 years ago now at 87 years old. And I saw him speak 2 or 3 years prior to that on a stage. He was 85. And he had no desire to stop. Because he wasn't playing a finite game. He wasn't like, oh yeah, when I like get to this point in my career and make this much money. This was his life. He wanted to keep going forever, for as long as he possibly could, to continue to have the impact, to impact as many people as he possibly could in the, like, that's an infinite game. And that's, I think, what kept him working literally until God decided it was his time. And work, like, he's 85 years old, like holding the room, like you would not believe. Like, it was crazy, his spirit. And it's because he had purpose that was beyond just like get to this final destination. And I think he had a really amazing definition for success that we can all adopt, that I've adopted. And it's by Earl Nightingale. I learned this from Bob Proctor, and he said, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. The progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And what's a worthy ideal? It's something you would trade your life for. That's a word. So if you are consistently progressing towards something you would trade your life for, a cause, a mission that you would trade your life for, you are a massive success. It's not getting there, it's being on the path. That's why I say purpose is not a destination or a realization. It's being on the path. continually realizing that we're the ideal, right? This is the infinite game. It means there is no end. There's no place to get to. You may not even get there in your lifetime. And that's what makes winners so powerful. The game isn't over when they lose. It's just getting started. I love this quote by Alex Hormozy. And Alex Hormozy, if you don't know him, you need to know him. You need to read his books immediately. He's really changing the game in business for so many entrepreneurs and for me especially. But he says, I don't do business to make money. I make money to do business. That's an infinite game. He's not in it to like hit X amount of dollars. He's making money. He loves making money so he can play the game of business. And that's, where's the end to that? How far can I grow? How big can I go? How big can I dream? Like, what if there was no final destination? What if it was all about playing the game? Playing the game. Most people are so afraid to, if they fail, they lose it all. But what does losing it all even mean? When you realize your life is the greatest asset you have, and guess what? You're losing that at every moment. So you might as well play it to the fullest. So I want to ask you, especially as an entrepreneur, do you love the game of business, or are you willing to fall in love with the game of business? Because it is a game. It's a science. It's experimentation. It's all a practice. And when we measure our progress by our experience gained, rather than the external milestones we're hitting, that's when we really get into the game. Like, I love business. I see this as just like this crazy, amazing problem that I'm solving. And it's never just like, well, when I get here, it's like, but how big can we go? But how big can we go? But how much can we do? How many people can we serve? Then it's like, okay, if I fail at some point, like, it's not over. There's just more reasons to play the game, like, that's even more fun now because there's a problem that I have to solve, and that engages that competitive spirit and that competitive drive. The willingness to serve for a lifetime. Like, it's those people that have that really big vision, that really long-term vision that might even extend beyond like their own lifetime. Those are the people who are playing the infinite game. Finite games, they have finite rewards, but infinite games have infinite rewards. And Alex Hormozy also has this amazing quote where he says, like, it's those people who have a vision that extend beyond even their lifetime that are really going to change the world. Those people who can serve and serve and serve without needing to have an immediate reward that are going to change the world. Because infinite games have infinite rewards. Shortcuts only lead to short-term gratification and short-term success. So a commitment to just be in the game and love the game and keep playing, like, even when it gets hard, it's also kind of fun. And get turned on by meeting that edge. That's where the lifelong gratification and the legacy of success comes from. Winners, it's like that audio that I posted the other day, which I just felt was like so perfect for this whole talk. It's like they get up even when they're tired and even when it doesn't make sense, because they love the game. And if you're going to be here in this space, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to love it. You have to love the trial and error and the experimentation of it. Point number 2, winners have tunnel vision. Tunnel vision. That's like this. Just to give you like a physical representation of what that looks like. There's a really great quote. I don't know who said it. I think it was Joe Dispenza. Until you have a vision for the future, you're bound to repeat the past. And a dream really is just that until it has a deadline. And you're kind of like, well, what do you mean, Sophia? You just talked about infinite games and not needing to get to a certain destination or have a deadline. Yes, I do believe that. And I believe if you're going to start a business, until you've been in it for 10 years, you don't get to complain that it's not working. Like, at least 10 years. You don't get to complain that it's not working. That's what I always tell myself. That's like my little mantra when things aren't working. I'm like, girl, you're just getting started. Like, who do you think you are? Wait 10 years before you start complaining. But in the infinite game, this is part of playing the game is setting up intentional finite milestones so that we can make the game more fun and more enticing. This really invites us again to become that greater version of ourselves. There's a big difference between, and this is an important distinction to make, between setting a goal from a place of lack and survival and setting one from a place of abundance and expansion. You can either create a goal or make a decision from a place of, well, everything until I get there is lack. Everything until I get there sucks. Like until I get there, like I'm still this like small little imposter of myself. Or from a place of everything until there, from here to there is just more. I love where I am. I love where I am. My value is inherent. I'm grateful for my life, truly, honestly grateful for my life. And every single moment until we get there is just more and more and more. It's just bonus. It's just extra. It's the cherry on top. When you move towards goals with that energy, where it's like, now it's like, there isn't this like innate crunchy pressure and desperation that feels like you're in this like almost depressed state until it happens, or you're like wondering when it's gonna happen. Instead, you're like genuinely enjoying every moment of the journey because you love where you are. Like it's a very different energy. So for example, when I made this decision that I was gonna hit six figures, which I did last year, and I did not hit six figures, maybe I didn't hit it, but what it did invite me to do was play a bigger game. I set the finite milestone within the infinite game that I'm playing, which my infinite game is I want to be the next female Bob Proctor, period. But I have this finite game in my mind of hitting that six-figure mark. And what it does is it invites me to play bigger. Like when we were making our decisions for the year, that's why it's like it doesn't even matter if you hit it or not. It's just inviting you to play bigger. It's just putting your mind on a different frequency, shifting that frequency. So now you're like, well, if that was the game I was playing, what would I have to do to win it? So I had to get more creative. I had to come up with better services. I had to build better relationships. I had to invest in myself, right? Obviously, that's not the end goal. Obviously, there's always going to be more. Thank God, because I'm here and I'm alive. Like, I don't ever want to stop striving for something. But that's the finite milestone that now gives me the energy to move in this direction of infinite expansion. On the way to this, something very natural starts to happen in the human condition, which is we start to play the comparison game. And winners don't play this game. Winners don't play this game. And this is what I mean by tunnel vision. Like put the hater blockers on. Hater blockers, but also just comparison blockers. This is so important. This is when we call forward our divine masculine to keep us focused on the task at hand and to keep us focused on our unique path. Because guess what? Your path is not going to look like anyone else's. I firmly believe that in my core. Like there is nobody that can give you the exact ABC steps to your success. Because your success, it's a blueprint written in your heart. It's a blueprint written in your heart. Wherever you are meant to go, wherever that pinnacle is for you, that's the pathway of your highest spiritual expansion and growth. So why would it look like anyone else's if it was uniquely set by your soul? You can't look at anyone else and compare yourself to them because you're playing a completely different game. This is your game. It's the game of like, hey, let's become these empowered creators here on earth. Let's find out what true, real, pure love is. Let's find out exactly what we're capable of. That's the game we're all playing, and yours is going to look different from mine, is going to look different from hers. So stay in your lane. Place the foot. Whenever you start looking like this, come back. Hey, put the comparison blockers on and place your focus on what's inside of you rather than what's outside of you. Trust your gut and your heart. And any mentor that you work with or hire should only be there to bring you back to you whenever you start doing this and to move you out of your own way. No one can tell you what to do. Nobody can give you the exact steps. The best mentors are going to be the ones that help you to take that out from within yourself. If you do look to the side, it's for one reason only: to gather information. Gather information, see evidence. You can see evidence. It's possible for her, it's possible for me. Great, back to me. See evidence. She's trying that strategy. Let me try that on, see if it fits for me. Amazing. Take the emotions out of it and be very objective about this. And don't be afraid to compete. Like I said, it's like friendly competition. Like, you ever think about what happens when you and a friend come together and you're both really good at this one thing, and you know you're both really good at this one thing. And every time you come together, you're like, girl, you're going down. Like, you're going down. And if you win the game, you're like on top of the world, you're happy. And if you lose the game, you're like, just wait till next time. Like, I'm going to come back stronger than ever. And competition helps us grow. It helps us elevate our game. You're going to go back. You're going to practice. You're going to think about what she did. You're going to strategize for next time. And you're going to become a better player because of that. So don't be afraid to compete, right? Don't cut off this part of yourself. It's all about finding that balance between our healthy masculine and our healthy feminine. And I think when we sway too much to either side, that's where we get lost. So it's like keeping that root in like your heart and your center, and knowing like what the bigger vision is, bigger picture is, that's the feminine, and understanding that there is enough for all of us to win, and also letting that healthy masculine come through and be like, I'm gonna win. like like I'm playing this game, I'm in this game, I'm focused. Right? Like, don't cut off that part of yourself. When I look at other people who are in my industry who might be doing something quote unquote similar, although I've crafted my own niche at this point, I just think, if she can do it, why not me? Like, that's pure evidence. If there is a woman out there that I'm looking at who have gone from where I am to, 6 figures a month, let's say, in less than a year, why not me? Why not me? What's her system? That's a question I'm asking myself. What's her system? Let me try that. Because I know she doesn't have anything I don't. Stay focused and I stay locked in. I'm only looking to see the evidence and to gather information. And besides that, I'm on my path. And I'm willing to experiment until I get there. So decide who you want to be, decide where you want to go, and then act as if it is an inevitability. It's like we're like walking this fine line between like knowing always that there is no end to this game, and also setting up these finite milestones so that it just makes it all the more fun, and we stay in the game and we stay engaged in the game. Okay. Last point I have for you guys before we wrap up our training for today. We've touched on this a bit, but winners are objective and results oriented. And I really want to invite you into this identity of a winner, right? Kind of like what I did for Savannah. I was like, you are a winner, and it changed her whole attitude. And this is the energy I want you moving into 2024 with. Winners are objective and results oriented. I have great news for you guys. Really good news. If something's not working, meaning it's not getting you the result you want right now, that's like the single greatest information that you have. Like, woo, we figured out what doesn't work. Let's go. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And I think this is why people get stuck. is because they're doing the same thing over and over, and they're like, why is it not working? Well, it's because you're doing the same thing over and over. So for example, my brother, I asked him about his approach to creating content and like what he would do if he was me. And he said, try something. You have to find what sticks. You have to find the thing that your audience responds to. So when you try something and when it doesn't work, you don't keep doing that same thing. You then go try something else. And then go try something else, and then go try something else, and then go try something else. And you're just in that game of experimenting and continually tweaking and changing your strategy until you find the thing that sticks. So he's not sitting here being like, yeah, just keep doing the same thing over and over. Eventually it's going to work, which a lot of people are doing. And then they're like so frustrated. It's like, it's information. Like that's data for you. If that didn't work, something else will. Okay? Change the strategy. Never change the goal, change the strategy. Bob Proctor taught me that one. Also, spoiler alert, because I'm so excited about this. Next month, my little brother is going to be the guest speaker inside the community. So we're all going to get to learn from him about how to make content that people actually watch. So I'm super excited about that, and stay tuned for that. Yeah, so think like a boss. Think like a CEO. Think like an engineer. There's a formula. This is another thing my brother said to me. He's like, and even, I think back to Think and Grow Rich was with the first book that I ever read about, creating material success in the world. And it said that, like financial success, material success is I'm forgetting the exact quote, but it's like definite principles applied in like a definite way to get a result. It's like very formulaic. Like there is a formula for this. There is a system for this. It's not about whether you can or can't. It's not about whether you have what it takes or not. It's not about whether you have something valuable to share or not. That's not in question. Those things are inherent. It may just be like the actual system that's not working. Your business strategy, which is why we're going to talk about business strategy on Sunday, because it's such an important piece to this. So we start to think like a boss, like a CEO, like a high level, like an engineer. Like there's X plus Y equals Z. If I'm putting X in and I'm not getting Z, then I need to try a different X. Can't just keep putting in the same X and trying to get the same Z. Like it's not going to work. You're like a mad scientist cracking the code. So perfectionist, and I know Ariel, we've talked about this a lot because you used to. I want to invite you to just like drop that whole narrative for yourself, to be honest. Like, you don't have to tell yourself that anymore. You can tell yourself that you are an experimenter and that you are a messy action taker. And the more you start to affirm that self-identity, the more you're going to start to see yourself show up that way. Right? Done is better than perfect. Get something out there, try it, test it. And I firmly believe that if what you're testing has some validity to it, you're going to see a result from that. And you're going to know to keep going down that path. That's a really beautiful thing that entrepreneurs have learned to do, that winners have learned to do. It's testing. Understanding that I can throw something out there that maybe isn't 100% perfect and see what the result is back, and then decide if I want to keep going down that path, right? It's this very objective, results-oriented approach that I think as women, we sometimes, this is why men are just doing things, guys. They're just doing things. Like my brother, he doesn't even tell anyone when he just does it. And what makes us fundamentally different, but I don't think it's a bad thing if we get to pull on that again, like I said, inner masculine, and start to have this really results-oriented approach where we're constantly seeing what the feedback is and redirecting without having it to mean anything about our self-worth. Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed that my greatest dry spell in business will lead to me creating my signature monetize your mission methodology? Who would have guessed that it would lead to me creating a community, an online community and giving away all of my best stuff for free. Like, I just feel like all of the pieces are like just clicking now. And it made no sense while I was in it, but it makes perfect sense now looking back. So even when it's not working, it's still working. It's still working. The pieces are just coming together. You're just too in it to see it right now. But there is a plan at play, and divine timing is so real. Divine timing is so real. And I just want to wrap this up by saying, like, I don't want to overlook the fact that there was a moment where I was with my knees on the ground, with my hands together, praying and saying, God, I need you to take me out of this. Like, I need you to help me move through this. Not take me out of it, but like, I need you to help me move through this. I need you to help me overcome this. And in those TikTok videos of that guy who's interviewing these billionaires, there's another common thread. And if you start to study successful people, you will see the common threads. And one of the common threads is they all talk about God and how important that is in how important the faith, really it's the faith in something bigger than themselves, okay? The faith that there is a plan out there for them. There is something that loves them, that wants the best for them, that is guiding them, that is directing their path. Don't underestimate the value of that when it comes to your comeback. Because when you can't see it, you need something else to believe in. When you can't believe in you, you need something else to believe in. And faith is the magic sauce that helps the impossible become possible. I love you guys. How we doing? How we feeling? That's what I have for you today. I'm actually so impressed with myself. Like, our timing is so good. Usually I go like at least 30 minutes over time. How are we doing? How are we feeling? Let me know in the chat.
Hey.
Oh, Ariel. Savannah, do you want to share something?
No, I just came on to say hey because I'm finally dressed.
Okay. Okay. Beautiful. I'm gonna mute you.
Michael's coming on here.
Michael will be sharing next month.
Oh gosh, that's gonna be good, and it's gonna be harsh.
True. My brother is ready.
My brother is like, he's not like, it's okay, guys. This is what you're gonna do. Like, he's like, if you're not doing this, you suck. That's not what he means. But like, that's how it sounds sometimes.
He just will give it to you straight. He will just give it to us straight, and we can take
what
resonates.
Don't do this. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll take what resonates and leave what doesn't, but I think it will still be valuable.
But no, definitely. He's good. I go to him and say, Michael, is this a good video? Like, I ask him, and he helps me edit it. Funny.
Yeah. Thanks, Ab. Okay, chat. Let's see what's happening. Rachel's focused and locked in. Let's go. Thank you. I'm so glad you guys are feeling inspired, completely aligned with what I need to hear right now. I love you. I love you guys. Thank you for coming live today. Thank you for sharing the space to meet with me. We're going to be back tomorrow talking about the energetics, all about and power and the power of your heart specifically. I'm so excited for tomorrow. I love you. Mwah. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll see you. Bye.